swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and occupation for the record.
My name is Teaberry, Olson, and I'm the owner of the Terrible Towel Cafe.
And Miss Olson, how do you know Therese Jameson?
I first met Therese when she applied for a job at the cafe, and I ended up hiring her.
And what would you say was Therese Jameson's work ethic?
Therese was a pretty bad employee. More often than not, she would come late to work, and every Saturday she would come half an hour late. So I kept telling her the importance of showing up to work on time, but she just didn't seem to care. So finally I started writing down her arrival times on my calendar, and when I had enough proof of her continual tardiness, I decided to dismiss her.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with evidence marked as evidence 4, exhibit 4.
Who's that?
Thank you.
And could you identify this piece of evidence for the jury?
Yes, this is the calendar that I used to write down Therese's arrival times on.
Thank you. And could you explain to the jury what happened on November 20th, 2004?
On the day of Therese's death, Sandy and I were talking in the front of the cafe before opening hours when Therese came in and asked to have a private conversation with me. So we went to the back and she asked me for her job back. I told her that I couldn't give her job back even if I wanted to because I already found someone to replace her. She kept arguing with me until finally she asked to leave through the back door so Sandy wouldn't see her cry, and I obliged. So I went back to the front of the cafe to talk to Sandy, and then I gathered up some trash to throw it out. I went out through the back, I lifted up the lid of the dumpster, threw a brick in, looked up, and saw Danny Jameson at the end of the alley. I was very scared right then because Danny is a loose cannon. For example, a few days after I fired Therese, she came up to me and threatened to make me pay for it. I was really scared, so I was in a rush to get back into the cafe, and I forgot to throw away my trash. I went back, and a few moments later, Officer DJ Motes came knocking on my door. I was a little wary of Officer Motes, but he asked me if I knew Therese, and I said that she was a former employee, and she just came by to ask if she could have her job back, and she just left through the back door. He then went outside by himself, and he came back and asked me to accompany him to the dumpster. He asked me to identify the body in the dumpster, and I identified it as Therese Jameson. And he then asked me about a brick and whether or not I had touched it. And at the time, I didn't remember touching it, so I said no, and later I remember having touched it.
And could you explain to the jury members why you were wary of Officer Motes?
Motes had it in for me ever since I wrote a letter to his boss complaining that he wasn't doing a good job of keeping the homeless people away. Supposedly, the reason why he was assigned to that area was to protect the people of the neighborhood. So if he had been doing his job, then why did Big Dog and his friends have a chance to kill Therese?
And could you explain why you didn't remember touching the brick when Officer Motes first asked you about it?
Well, I threw bricks in the dumpster every few days, and at the time I was really rattled after seeing Danny so agitated. I mean, how was I supposed to remember throwing the brick away?
And could you please explain the gang situation around your restaurant?
I used to think a lot of them were really harmless, especially Big Dog and his friends. And in the summer or spring of 2004, I noticed them chasing a couple of homeless people away from my cafe. And frankly, I was grateful. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't hate homeless people. I just hate how they have to hang around my cafe and scare away my customers.
And could you please explain your relationship with a Miss Jean Weed?
Jean is a low-income tenant of mine who lives in one of my apartments that I work day and night to get enough money to buy. He could very well be homeless if I hadn't been giving him a break in his rent ever since he lost his job. And he appreciates what I've done for him. He even nominated me for Community Hero Award.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with the exhibit marked as Exhibit 6. I have a copy.
Thanks.
And could you please explain to the jury what this exhibit is?
This is the letter that Jean Wade sent to the mayor to nominate me for a Community Hero Award.
Thank you. And could you explain what your feelings are on producing your famous 100% beef burgers?
I would never even consider putting horse meat in my burgers. It's too much of a risk that I'm not willing to take. I've heard rumors that other cafes in the area were mixing in horse meat because the price is cheaper, but I don't know what the price is, and frankly, I don't care.
And could you explain to the jury the homeless situation around your restaurant?
The homeless hang around the area mostly because of all the shelters, and they really scare away my customers, and it does damage to my business. It also lowers our property values, and it makes it harder for people like me to rent out apartments when potential tenants are thinking that the neighborhood is a dangerous place because of that.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with the exhibits 51, 52, and 53? You guys already have copies, so?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you identify these exhibits for the court?
These are invoices that I use to order meat from the Prime Cuts Meat Company.
And could you explain to the court why you started ordering less meat?
Well, business was down mostly because of the homeless people hanging around my cafe and chasing my customers away. And since Officer Motes didn't do anything about it, I had to start ordering less meat for the loss of demand.
Thank you. No more questions, Your Honor.
Would you care to cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor, we would.
Please do.
How much time is the meeting? 3 minutes?
Wait, no, you have over 4 minutes.
Over 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's 7 minutes.
Okay, great. Hello. Is it true that you started a committee in 2004 to attempt to eliminate the homeless from the city?
Yes, because they lower our property values, and people think it's a dangerous place to live.
So yes. And did you withhold information to Prime Cuts Meat Company about Sandy Wilbur's previous drunk driving so she could get hired?
Yes, I believe in giving people second chances, just like I gave Therese many chances.
Even if it involves lying to the police?
Yes.
Okay. And do you ever trust the employees at Terrible Towel to receive the shipments of meat?
No, I have trust issues, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. And when Therese Jameson was working at the Terrible Towel, did you ever have problems with her arriving late to work?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with the exhibit previously marked as Exhibit 4.
Please do.
Copy back.
Okay.
And did you make this calendar to write down Therese Jameson's arrival times in October?
Yes, I did.
And is it true that she was required to show up to work every day at 8 a.m. approximately?
Yes, it's true.
Ms. Olson, is it also true that there wasn't a time clock available at your cafe?
Yes.
And is it also true that Therese told you that she would be late every Saturday because her daughter had to keep her for another half an hour?
Yes, but that doesn't excuse the fact that she was late.
So, could you please count and share with the court all of the occurrences in which Therese arrived past 8 o'clock, excluding Saturdays?
Seven times?
Excluding Saturdays, then 4 times, correct?
Yes.
So, 4 occurrences in the whole month of October, and the reason that you fired her was her tardiness.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And when Kim Sanchez contacted you from the homeless shelter where Therese Jameson was, begging you to give Therese and her daughter another chance, did you comply?
No, she was unreliable, and I already gave her lots of chances.
And 4 times in the whole month of October is unreliable in your opinion?
Well, I kept telling her to show up to work on time, but she just didn't seem to care.
Okay. And during the summer and spring of 2004, did you occasionally give the violent gangs in your city free lunches from the Terrible Towel?
Yes, but that was before I knew they were capable of murder.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Would the defense care to redirect?
Yes, we would, Your Honor. Okay. would you not say, or, I'm sorry, could you explain to the jury once again why you fired Therese Jameson?
Therese was an unreliable employee, and I kept telling her the importance of showing up to work on time, but she just didn't seem to care.
And you said she showed up 4 times late in 1 month, isn't that, that's correct, right?
Yes, that's correct.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Olson, you may step down. Does the defense